Hey, what's up everyone? This is K Collections. Hope you have enough Saint Quartz, cause there's going to be some awesome servants coming out soon. One of them being an entirely new servant class known as Foreigner. I'll go over stat skills, give some CE and team recommendations to see if you should summon Abigail Williams. First, let's talk about the Foreigner class. They're basically anti-berserkers, receiving resist damage while still being effective like most other class. They also deal effective damage against their own class, and they're weak against alter egos. For her stats, attack is ranked pretty high, being the 10th highest upon release, just below Ishtar. HP isn't too bad either, being towards the middle, just a bit higher than Caster Nero. She's an Arts Buster servant with slightly below average NP gains. Performing an Arts Brave Chain will give her about 48%, which is amazing, but that's only if you perform Arts Chains. Take away the 20% and she's generating about 28%. Most servants generate roughly 30 to 35 on average. Her arts will gain about 5 to 10% per attack, which is not the greatest, but she has 3 arts, so at least it's consistent. Star gens are about 20 to 25 stars when using her Buster and Quick. Abigail has a turn-based NP battery effect, giving you a total of 30% within 3 turns. I personally prefer an instant NP charge for quicker farming, but it's not meant to be used to charge your initial NP attacks. It's to give your servants continued momentum after using their attacks, which is why it's connected to an NP damage buff. Also, the 10% charge occurs after your turn ends, not upon activation, so use this once a servant has their NP ready. Her second skill is a very unique stunning effect. Enemies will be inflicted with a fear status in which there is a 50% chance to stun them. The status will last for 3 turns, but it only stuns them once, then the fear status will go away. So it's not potentially stunning an enemy every turn for 3 turns, it's potentially stunning them once within 3 turns. Also, the enemy's debuff resistance will be ignored, but debuff success rate will not be factored in as well. So it's straight up 50% chance. Ideally, you'll use this specifically for the AoE defense down. The fear status is just too unreliable to stop NP attacks. Besides, you can't even time it properly. It's more so a nice bonus. But she does have a reliable NP charge reduction skill, with the added bonus of debuffing attack. Now, focus on maxing her skills in order. NP battery and damage is her strongest skill, followed by her AoE defense down. Third skill is mainly used to delay your enemies. Abigail has very solid passives. One in particular is a very mini 2030-like effect. Her Noble Phantasm is basically a single target twin arm big crunch. Being single target, it deals a lot more damage in comparison, but has the same effect in which the target's buffs are removed before the damage, so any defensive buffs will be useless against her. For CE recommendations, you gotta give her some kind of NP charge assistance, whether it be Prisma Cosmos for consistent NP charging or starting NP. Her reliance on arts chains can be slow. Also, if you have Prisma Cosmos, by using her first skill, it's a 18 to 20% charge for 3 turns, which is awesome. You can even spam her NP with the right combinations. Abigail focuses on crits and NP for damage. She has high gather rates and strong NP. Supper is great. Like I mentioned, you need to give her some form of NP gauge assistance, but if you want to generate stars, Glory will allow her to generate 5 stars every turn. Small amount, but it can lead to crit damage. Finally, using CEs that boost her arts and buster will help her overall performance. Thankfully, both of these choices will help with her NP gains or gauge one way or another. Abigail has 3 normal arts and a buster NP. She needs help with NP charging and star gens. You need a servant who will not take the stars away from her, and they need to protect her from NP attacks. I wonder who fits this description. Of course it's Merlin. You're going to arts chains like crazy, not to mention their abilities which when combined will charge her NP gauge 10% passively, 15% passively for Merlin. Even more when you spam his NP, which you will. With this guy, Abigail can spam her own NP quite often. Tamamo is another solid option. Yes, she does not increase Abigail's NP damage, but the arts buff will help with NP charging. Tamamo's main role is to reduce skill cooldowns and charge NP. By doing so, Abigail's first skill can be used often, charging even more NP, helping Tamamo spam her NP so Abigail can spam hers. It's basically a nice loop in effects. Using Waver will allow you to have fast setups with Abigail. Thanks to his NP charges, he really fixes her slow starts in the beginning. For free-to-play options, you have the typical Anderson and Shakespeare, although they are significantly less effective than the 5-star, so use them only if you don't have Merlin, Waver, or Tamamo. My final thoughts on Abigail. The main selling point to use this servant in battle would be her role as an anti-berserker. Yes, mostly all servants are effective against them, but only foreigners take resist damage against them. Take away her class advantage, she's a well-balanced servant, having good stats and effects, but also having weaknesses that really hinders her strengths. She can deal a lot of damage with her NP, having high attack stats, good passives, a NP buffing skill, and it's a buster single target. She can also decrease defense, which further increases damage. Most importantly, she's the only servant other than Amakasa that removes buffs before damage with their NP attack. Abigail has naturally high star weights comparable to even archers, which helps with crits and NP gains. Her star gen stats are higher than normal as well. She won't be generating stars like crazy, coming in at around 25 stars or so with a brave chain, but that's average for most servants. Now, if you buff her star gens, she can be a pretty solid star generator thanks to her high hit counts. Finally, her skill sets in general is pretty versatile. But moving on to weaknesses, the cooldowns for all skills are long, 7 turns even when maxed out, or for most effects, a 4-turn downtime, which takes away a lot of momentum. Speaking about momentum, Abigail can start off very slow without proper support. There are 2 reasons. One is that her NP gains aren't great. She's so reliant on arts chains to charge her NP gauge. If you don't use arts chains, then her attacks will only charge about 5 to 10% off one attack depending on placement. Second reason is that her skills are meant to be used mid to late battle. You're not going to use her first skill right away because you're sacrificing the NP damage buff if you can't charge a servant's NP in time. You can try to plan it out, but that's ultimately reliant on your team's setup, not her. Second skill is meant for a defense debuff, so you're waiting for the best opportunity to deal big damage. Third skill, you'll most likely use it once the boss has 1 NP gauge, so you can start the cooldown process early, or you'll save it right before their NP attack. Overall, she isn't a simple servant to use, not like the game is complex or anything, but she's not recommended for beginners or players that doesn't have a lot of servants to work with. She has good things about her, but weaknesses really affects her performance. So, the question is, should you summon Abigail? Only if you have effective supports for her. Without the proper setup, she's not going to help you any more than other servants, so why waste the money? You may argue that she's an anti-berserker, which is true, but you'll mainly use her against break bar berserkers or challenge quests with berserkers in it because those battles tend to take longer, so you'll need that resist damage. Aside from that, almost every other servant can one-shot a berserker in general, okay? So you can't say only Abigail can kill berserkers, but if you are looking for a foreigner, she's an option. There's also another one coming out New Year, so keep that in mind. At the end, Abigail is a servant that's great if you have the right resources, but if you don't, skip her, not because she's useless, because there are better options for you. So are you going to summon Abigail? Comment down below, I'd like to know, or are you saving for Best Goddess Arash? Special thanks to all my patrons for supporting me. If you want to support my channel, check out my Patreon. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more Fate content. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and join my Discord server. All links are in the description. Have an awesome day, everyone. Till next time.